Hello, we are going to discuss how do we handle system design questions in case of data science interviews. So these kind of questions are very common. They help us to get an overall idea of how these systems are built and what goes into delivering the output that is required. So here we are going to look into examples of certain questions like these and also understand how do we uh, frame the strategy around solving these kind of questions. So these kind of questions are very common and and these questions are not about the technical skills, but these are more about solving a real problem with a business approach. How can we solve it so that we it's like solving a real business problem? So the first thing to understand here is what kind of questions can these be. So these questions can be like, the app recently added a personalized feed, and how will we evaluate if it is driving more user attention? So here, understanding if any feature that is added, is it actually getting us what we want or not? Consider a particular page was redesigned. So is it giving me an improved conversion rate, or is it the same conversion rate still? Here, the next question is that we are testing a new push notification strategy. So how can we measure its effectiveness without annoying users? So here we don't want to annoy the users, that we want the process to proceed as it is, but then we also want to test the new strategy that is done. Consider if we implemented an AI based moderation system, what indicators will help to confirm if it's doing its job accurately? So here we want to check if what is the uh, what is the uh, what is the correctness of the new system that is implemented. So now with these kind of questions, we have to consider first of all what are the features that we are considering. So the features will help us to decide are we going in the right direction or not, because it is the features which actually provide value to the model or the product. So here we have to benefit from picking the most valuable features, and that can be done in various ways. First of all, the thing is we should keep the goal in mind. We should understand what are we trying to predict, what is the performance of this feature, and then after that we should try to get the right feature that might be appropriate. So considering that in certain scenarios certain features are more important, and once we build the system, we can build the system and then use the sharp and the line techniques so that we understand the feature importance. We can also make use of, that is we can examine all these numerical problems with the help of A/B testing, or we can also check for any kind of historical data testing that we have that is known as the back testing. Then we can compare the model performance that is already there. So all these will help us to understand if we are moving in the right direction. We can also get the right set of features with the help of correlation analysis, RFEs, recursive feature elimination, regularization. Apart from that, domain knowledge and the data intuition will also help us to get the right set of features. We should try to avoid leakage, data leakage. That is, data leakage can be in various formats, like for example, we that is, if we scale before train test split, then somewhere we are releasing that kind of information to the model, and then after that if we do train test split, then that information is available to the entire data set. So first train test split has to be done, and then scaling needs to be done. Then we should also avoid any kind of redundancy. So in this ways, First of all, feature evaluation and selection needs to be completed. The next one is machine learning system design. So for this, we have to understand that we are checking the model that we have just built. So here we have to understand what is the overall process of building the model, why did we do it. So uh, here we have to understand like the details, the details, all the details are to be understood in elaborately. So we should be able to uh, first of all get all the details from the interviewer, like what kind of system are we building, then what was the model that was already in place, how many users are there, how much of data, how many requests are there, then if are there any limitations, what kind of data did we already use, what kind of data are we further willing to capture, how are we going to clean the data. So all these details will help us to answer these kind of questions. So first of all, we clarify the entire problem that is there in hand of what was the system that was already implemented, what was the data pipeline, and then why was a particular model was chosen. And then we should design the system in an imaginary manner, considering what kind of problem are we trying to solve. So it's like we just get the system architecture in our head. So we are getting the data and we are storing it. How are we storing it? Then from that data we are trying to capture the features, then we are training and testing the model, and we are making the model work by deploying it, and then we are monitoring and maintaining it. Then apart from that, we should also consider about the requests that are coming in. And so how are we going to consider uh, horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, load balancing, then fault tolerance, and then so here basically the idea is to test how well versed are we with the entire pipeline of understanding which model has to be used and where it has to be used. Now we have designed the model. After that we have to understand the metrics design. So now for the metrics design, first of all, we should understand why are we doing, what are we doing, who is the target audience, what is the value that we are checking, and then we should consider what are the potential metrics that are possible. So is it like in terms of model performance, is it in terms of any kind of money that is there to reduce some kind of revenue or profit margins or anything. Then metrics can also be in terms of user engagement, then it can also be in terms of how quickly is the model working, and then then sometimes ethics can also play a role. The model should work ethically. Then few other times health kind of metrics might also be there. So we have to we have to first of all define what is going to be a success metric for this particular model. Then we have to segment the metrics. Now by segmenting the metrics, it's like we understand which metric is going to come under what categories. Certain metrics might belong to the product category, certain metrics might belong to the user category. Then here we have to understand that we should always strive for a balanced view with all the metrics that are there and avoid any metric pitfalls. For example, in the case of like Simpson's paradox. So we should try to avoid any kind of metrics pitfall that are there. So Simpson's paradox is a is like it's used in statistics where one trend appears in some group of data, but then in another group, or sometimes when the groups are getting combined, that entire trend reverses. So we should understand like a metric might hold good for a certain group of people, but then when we take the metric in general, like for example it might work for let's say India, but then when I work with that metric in some other region, or when I combine a few groups, that metric is totally working in reverse. So we should try to avoid such kind of paradoxes. Then also we can use visualization to interpret the results. So once we do all this, further, if the problem is around, if there is any problem, if there is any issue that is happening, so now we have to understand the root cause analysis. For root cause analysis, we have to understand if there is any issue in the data, any issue in the model, or if there is any model performance drop. All these are to be checked. So we should check for any unexpected changes in KPIs. KPIs are the key performance indicators. So is there any change in that? So the model monitoring will help me to understand that. And then we should drill down these metrics, understand if user segments is working well, or is there any change in the geography, is there any change in the product line. So depending upon that, we can understand what is actually causing the problem. And then we should debug the model. Is there any kind of data drift? Data drift as in the model was trained on certain kind of data, and now the model is experiencing certain other kind of data, which is leading to this data drift. Or feature distribution drift. Feature distribution shift as in I trained the model with some few features or few characteristics, and now the features are coming out to be something else only, which could lead to model performance drop. So using certain diagnostic tools for these will help me to understand of what is actually causing the model drop. So all these, first of all, feature selection, then checking on the model, checking on the metrics, and root cause analysis. So now all these will help me to understand. So these are the 4 categories in which the problem can be asked. Here in root cause analysis, sometimes there can be some other reason also, like there can be any seasonal change, or something else that the competitor has done, something else, like a competitor has brought about another product which is very innovative or something like that. So here we have to examine what is the evidence that we already have in hand, check for the logs, check for the system logs, any kind of error that is happening anywhere. So we should isolate the root cause, identify it, and propose solution. So here the check is on how are we able to debug an underlying issue. So whatever are our recommendations, we should look for what is the problem, get all the details about the problem. Then after that, look for a proposed solution. What data science approach or strategy can you suggest? The solution should not be very general, rather it has to take a data science approach. Then after that, we should check for what is the positive outcome are we anticipating from this kind of a solution. Once we do that, we should also define the metrics that will help us to identify what is the proposed solution. Then for the proposed solution, we should check on the metrics, and then along with that, we should also identify if there are any risks or drawbacks with this kind of scheme. So considering one example, consider we are analyzing hiring data for a company, and the hiring rate, it is seen that for male candidate is 60%, while for female candidate it is for 40%. And so when it is broken down by the department, the hiring rate for females is found to be higher in the departments. So how will we check on this particular solution? So this can be a particular question. Or let us consider a question like, that is, if there is a personalized news feed, and so how will we design if the how will we design the complete machine learning system with it. So here we want to increase the user engagement by showing the relevant news content on their feed, and so we want to build a personalized ranking model. So now in this ranking model, we want to analyze how is the user behavior, like with the help of clicks, how are they scrolling, what is the time that they are spending, what content features are they looking at, and then we train the model with the feedback that is there, and explore a few other recommendation techniques like collaborative filtering, content based filtering, or hybrid approaches. How are we going to check the impact is with the help of the click through rates, that is the CTR. Apart from that, we can also look for is engagement metrics, model metrics like AUC, precision, business KPIs, that is how many are the daily active users, what is the content consumption growth that is happening, then what how many number of return visits are there, what is the average session duration. All these are various metrics that can be captured. Apart from that, the risks or the drawbacks that are possible are some kind of over personalization, that is there is nothing else from any other theme or any other stream, or some kind of bias training data might be there. So these are the potential drawbacks that is there. So this kind of approach, that is we define the problem, we get the solution. So problem is checking on the engagement, solution will be ranking, expected impact is we want to improve the engagement, and what are will be the metrics, that is the click through rate and number of active users. So all these metrics we can define, and then after that the risk can be biased on training data, or otherwise having over personalization. All these can be the drawbacks. So whenever we want to develop such a system, we should always align it with the business goals, and we should think in an end-to-end system manner. We should think right from capturing the data till the time that it gets deployed. We should justify what metrics we are using, why we are using, validate the features and the models, and also troubleshoot with evidence. So when we are trying to troubleshoot, we should understand that this is what is giving me lesser accuracy, and so I move ahead with that. And all this has to be communicated clearly and concisely.